Okay, so now the broadcast is actually started. We'll go back and do a few of them. All right, I will share my screen. Okay, so so what I've done is we've created a few of these kind of title templates that show what that already have our animation and font size and everything built in, and the fade here is with the opacity. So if I have this selected and I press T, that brings opacity up. It's T because O is used for out point, so you can't use O again. So they use T for whatever reason, opacity, I guess. Okay, so you have these keyframes right here, and the one at the end is set to 0, and this one here is set to 100. Those are brought up by turning this thing off and on. So if I turn it off, it deletes those keyframes. So I've come in 12 keyframes in, and I'm going to click this clock to turn the keyframes on. And I know that at this point I want it at 100%. Well, then I'll come back to the in point, which I can get there by just pressing I, and I'll drag this down to 0. And then here I'm going to come 12 frames in as well. I'm at 1604, so go down to 22. There we go. Okay, I will click this little button to add another keyframe. And I press O for out point and drag it to 0. So there, now I have it fades up, and then it fades out. So I have that one. These other titles right here are the exact same font. They're just a different font size. This one's at 72, and this one's at 132. So just 50 points difference. So anyway, I have these little tabs here which were pulled over from our Premiere project, and it tells me what titles I want where, and I'm lining them up with the video frame that's beneath it. So this here, I can find the video frame by simply scrolling down, and whichever video frame I'm on, this one right here, that is the one whose in and out points I'm trying to match, right? You see these, how they're kind of a dim color? That means that the entire clip is actually this long, but this is where your in and out points are set on it. So it's cut to this length. See that? So ignore these more dim colors and just look at this. So this is this solid color here is the frame we're above. So secure loosely for now. So I have this title here that says secure skid loosely for now. Okay, so that, since I know that I have my font size and my transitions and everything built into it, I push Control D to duplicate this. Like I say, it's basically like your template. I'm going to move it over to this next one. It says install main skid. Oh, oops, except for this one against a black background. Here, I'll scroll down. Yeah, see, so this black is black video. Against that black background, that's going to use the larger font size, which I think I have over here. I'm going to delete this one. I just duplicated it, but I think it's this one. Right? Yeah, so that's it. So I'll duplicate that, Control D, and drag it over to install main skid now. So tail is done. I come over, and here, this needs to say install main skid. Main skid. Okay, let's kind of check our timing. Comes in, fades out. That's probably too long. Let's lengthen this a bit. When I lengthen this, I need to drag my opacity here. Now remember, I twirl those down by pushing T for opacity. I can bring it up again by pressing T. See, and that turns opacity off. If you want S, that's scale. P is position. Or if you want all of them, you can hold the Shift key S and position up. See? What happens though is when you start getting a lot of these kind of things twirled down, your timeline starts getting really kind of long, And so a quick way to collapse everything is to select one, Control A, and let's just say T for opacity. This opens opacity on all of them. When you can press T again, and that collapses all of them. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so we got main skid. Too long. Oh, why I dragged it so long. Okay. All right, next. Using factory hardware. What did I say there? Oh yeah, I was say using factory hardware, install old secure. Oh, using factory hardware, secure skid into factory holes. Oh, I was kind of doing a whole sentence here. I just wanted to come up using factory hardware, secure skid into factory holes. Okay, and this is going to use our smaller font, so I'll come back to this one. Is that right? Yep. So Control D, duplicate, drag it over. Okay. It's also not in the right place, so I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'll move it up here. Using factory hardware. And then right as this is fading out, I'm going to have the other one come in. So I'll go Control D. It's over, and I'll just have them overlap a little bit so that they kind of go over each other. And this one, I'm going to P position, move it over. And this one, move it this way. Okay. Secure skid into factory holes. It's a little bit too long, so I'll bring my position back over. Let's see how this looks if they transit. Using factory hardware, secure skid into factory holes. Looks okay. Yeah, I like that. I think maybe I'll drop it down just so it doesn't overlap right here. I don't really like how it's doing that. So I'm going to change the position on this one. P and pull it down to there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, secure skid into factory holes. Okay, so basically what I'm doing is for the main titles, I'm duplicating this larger one and dragging it over. And for the small ones, I'm duplicating these smaller ones and dragging them over. The other piece we missed when I wasn't recording, I apologize for that. The piece we missed was adding these kind of in here. So I'm just going to review that real quick. So when you bring a still in, say I drag, let's drag this main skid still back down here. Remember that it fills the entire composition, and so what you need to do is you need to kind of cut it down, and you can see what length you want to cut it to by matching it to the background. So on this one, our background is this light gray matte. I'm going to go to the in point here. You can also get there by pressing O and I for in and out point, so that clip. So I'm going to go to the in point, and with this piece selected up here, I will push I will hold Alt and left bracket. It's kind of like that parentheses type thing, the bracket. So left bracket, that creates that in point there, and then I'll go to out point and Alt and right bracket. So now I know that it's the right length. Now I just need to kind of adjust the size of it here. So with the size, I just hit S to bring the scale down, and I can just drag it down. If I want to get more precise, I can hold Control while I drag, and then it drags by 0.1%. So I kind of bring it in here. So that's kind of what I did here. The other way you can is like you were talking about before, you can grab these and drag it. If you hold, you just want to hold Shift while you do, so that it constrains its proportions. I think if you actually hold Control and Shift, you can do precise dragging movements too. So that's another good way to do it. So that's kind of what I did here. And then I desaturated it. I took an effect and preset of I typed hue in here, hue. That gave me hue and saturation, which when I drag onto this, and there's a few ways you can drag it onto it. It looks like I'm putting it in the right place. I can't be 100% certain, so I like to drag it onto the layer itself. And that's one way. The other way to do it is if you have the layer selected, you can double click on this. And by double clicking on it, it applies the effect up here in the effects window. And I just pulled the master saturation down to 0. What that does is that got rid of a little bit of the yellow from the light here and the white light here. It's kind of a bluish light. It gets all of that out. So that's that last piece I missed there. So anyway, I apologize for messing that up, but
that's all right. This will help.
Yeah, at least we can kind of refer to those. Okay. So yeah, just kind of go through these and zoom in and out as you need to read the markers, and just keep adding those little titles. You want to make sure that any titles we add are above any of this stuff down here. All of this stuff, this is our video editing. So keep it all up above this, because later what we're going to do is we're going to go through and just turn all of this stuff off. We're just going to turn all of this stuff off. And by doing that, it'll leave us with a video track that has just our titles on it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then what we'll do is we'll take that, we'll export it with transparency, and we'll take that and put it above our Premiere project. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So the important thing to do is to keep all of the titles above this stuff. So don't ever, like, for some reason, drag it down here or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, you watched it twice and we have it recorded once. So hopefully hopefully that gives you what you need. Sorry, I messed up on that.
Yeah, that'll be helpful.
Okay, cool. All right, cool.